This training, it's around the framework that I teach on selling, right? And this is focused on conversions for high equity deals. Now, why this is different from everything else that you've probably learned is I've done a lot of sales trainings, especially from people in the real estate space, and most of their, I don't know, I wouldn't even call it frameworks. Most of their scripts are really heavily based around volume, right? They're very generic scripts. They're very basic scripts. It's just based around do enough leads, enough marketing, do a ton of it, and some people will answer favorably to the script. Now, that's one strategy. For me, it's just an exhausting business to run that way. So the script that I created is not based on volume, it's based on profit, right? So you're going to have a lot less conversations, but you'll convert more. And every conversion is going to be a high income producing conversion, right? So you're going to be generating a lot more profit rather than your $5,000-$10,000 wholesales or $20,000-$30,000 flips. You're going to be generating $40,000-$50,000 wholesales and $100,000 flips and up from there, because it's more focused on things that are not typical in the business. Now, I broke it down into two phases. We'll do phase one today and phase two next week. Phase one is the call. Now, a lot of people, they kind of screw up the calls because you don't do the right steps to connect with the person. You don't ask the right questions to qualify the lead. So you end up going to appointments that are completely pointless. I had a student when he first joined, he was like, yeah, I've had like 15 appointments in like the last month. And I was like, how many contracts? He's like, none. There's one or two things. You're either not closing or you're going to way too many appointments that you shouldn't be going to. And it's a waste of your time, effort, focus, everything to be going to appointments that kind of don't lead anywhere, right? So we want to make sure on this call, we do everything to, when I set the appointment, I go to close. I don't go to the appointment to continue the conversation. I go to close, right? So this call is going to set you up for that. And it's going to be something that you're going to see, how well it works and all that. And like I said, I don't really care about scripts. I teach frameworks because the scripts, as you're going to see, they're always going to be modified. They're always going to change based on the market, on the list that you're doing. Every student I have from Chicago to Seattle to Texas to Florida, the scripts are different because it's the competition is different. The list you're going to be marketing to are different. The way the people in those markets are used to getting marketed to are different, right? The way I used to contact leads in San Antonio 13 years ago, it's not the way we contact them today. And it's not going to be the same way we contact them, a year from now or 6 months from now. My favorite form of outreach is cold calling. It's the most direct. It's very cost effective, but it generates results, where direct mail and everything else is just slow, tedious, expensive, and you can't control quality. You can't control deliverability. With cold calling, to me, is just a no-brainer. It's a way to just generate massive profits, and you control the whole sales process that way. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to walk you through this concept real quick. So here we go. Hopefully you guys, looks like it's coming through. So we're just going to go with it. Like I said, phase one is going to be the call. The first thing we want to target in the call is going to be your intro/opener. So this is the only piece that I want you to have completely nailed down. The intro and your opener, it needs to be nailed down. And what I mean by nailed down, it needs to be something that you know exactly word for word what you're going to say and the tonality that you're going to say in. A large percentage of how we say things is how we convert is more important than what we say. I can give you the best scripts in the world, but if you're not delivering it correctly, it has no impact. How you say things matters, right? So, for example, the three criteria that we try to hit every time on our openers is we want to verify the name, the address, and the situation that they're in, all on the first line. So for foreclosures, for example, one of the scripts that we've been using for a long time is I let's say I'm calling Michael. I just assume if a man picks up, I'm talking to Michael. I don't ask, is this Michael? When you ask, is this so and so, it shows that you don't know who the person is, right? So the person on the other side of the phone is like, shit, this is a sales call. This is somebody soliciting. They're already shutting down on you, right? So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen to us. So I just assume if it's not Michael, they're going to correct you. I promise you that. They're going to correct you. I would rather them correct me than, get kind of start the conversation on the wrong leg by them being like, ah, man. So it's like, hey, Michael, what's going on, man? This is John. Listen, I was giving you a quick call because I wasn't sure if the county had reached out to you on helping you to stop the foreclosure on Cliffside, which is set for September 2nd. Is this something you're still needing help with? Right? So I said their name, their property, and the foreclosure and the sale date. Like I confirmed all those things on the first line. Any of those pieces are wrong, they're going to correct you. Because when you're cold calling, not all numbers are correct, right? You're going to get a lot of wrong numbers, wrong people, stuff like that. So I want to say these things. The opener, how do you know that you have a good opener? Is because you create enough curiosity from the seller to want to stay on the phone. Even if the person's not motivated, they're not interested, whatever it may be, it should still last, the call should last over 2 minutes. This is how we rate ourselves and how we rate our team is if the calls are lasting less than 2 minutes, it's because your opener's not landing. If your opener's not landing, you're not going to be able to get to the next phase of the calls, right? So if you can't get to the next phase of the calls, it almost doesn't matter what cool script you've crafted because you can never get to it. Doesn't matter how good you are at closing because you'd never get there. This is why the opener is the one thing that we make sure we nail down. We rehearse over and over and over. You should be able to do the opener as soon as you wake up in the morning, straight out of bed with the same enthusiasm. Speaking of enthusiasm, another thing I recommend highly when you're making calls is that you stand up. A lot of people make calls sitting down. When you're sitting down, your energy is affected, right? You're sitting down, your body's more contracted, your oxygen's not flowing as freely. When you're standing up, your body's open, more oxygen flows to your brain. You're able to think quicker, talk better, your voice comes out clearer. So these are things that you want to make sure you understand and you're saying carefully. And within that space as well, I would say make sure if you're a person that likes to kind of mumble because you're shy or whatever the hell it is, you stop doing that shit. Articulate very well what you say. So if you're a person, I was training a guy this one time, and he'd be like, "Hey, what's going on? My name is Randy. I was just giving you a call by your house." I'm like, "Dude, no. Well, I'm just not as outgoing as." I don't care that you're not outgoing. Shake it off. Like you have to shift. You have to sound better. You have to be like, "Hey, Mike, what's going on? This is John. Listen." When you have that level of enthusiasm, it's even more fun for them on the other side of the phone than if they get a call from somebody like, "Hi, Mike, what's going on? Listen, this is John," and they fell asleep already. Like they're like, who the hell? They're already annoyed at the phone call. But when you're more energetic, you're more happy and all this, and even smile, it makes a world of a difference. But when you do all that, you will nail your opener. And when you nail your opener, your conversations actually get to the next phase. And that next phase is connection. So once you know your opener and you created enough curiosity from your seller, we want to connect with them now. So what connection does is these are friendly curiosity questions that we ask, and it's curiosity from us, right? I'm curious now. So with, let's say, a foreclosure, we say that intro, right? And it lands and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten any calls from anybody trying to help me. I would love some help." "Oh, amazing. Listen, in order to help you best, like, I just gotta like understand what happened, like what caused you to start falling behind. Oh well, I lost my job. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that. And what was it that you used to do? Oh, I worked at such and such place. Oh, wow, very cool. And how long you worked there for? Oh, I've been there 12 years. Oh, man, so you've been there a long time. Yeah. Oh man, I'm so sorry you lost your job. Why are we doing this? Because it gets them talking about their situation and their thing, and it gets them to like you. When people talk about themselves, they tend to like the person that allows them to talk about themselves and that seems intrigued by the things they say, right? So if you seem interested and curious about the things they're saying, they're going to connect with you much better. And the reason connection is so crucial is because when I used to do these calls, I would go straight into motivation, asking deep, motivating questions and all these things. And I wasn't getting clear answers, right? And a lot of times they're like, well, why do you care? Well, what problem is it of yours? Well, that's none of your business. When you get those kinds of responses, that's because you didn't connect with them good enough. Like they're not sure why the hell they're even talking to you right now, right? Why should they even open up to you? Why should they even, trust you with this kind of information? When you connect with somebody so well, they're going to know, like, and trust you to an extreme where they'll give you everything. Bank account information, like the loan information. They'll give you every piece of data that you're going to need to be able to execute on these deals better, right? If you're not able to get there, it's typically because you didn't connect. The same reason why, have you ever set an appointment and they flaked out on you, right? You set an appointment, everything sounds good, you show up, nobody's there. Why? Because they don't like you. They don't know you. And because they don't like you and they don't know you, they don't feel they can trust you. That's why they stood you up. They said yes to the appointment just to get you off the phone. Just because they didn't know what else to say. You got to have an ear and an awareness to understand when they're trying to avoid you rather than when it is that they're actually connecting with you and this is going to close, right? So it's the same thing when you submit an offer. When you are not connecting well and you didn't connect well and you submit an offer, they'll get pissed. They'll get triggered. They'll think that you're disrespecting them, that you don't understand, that you're just trying to steal their home. All of these things, as they should, because they don't trust you or like you, right? So when you submit your offer, you lost them because you didn't do this right. You didn't do the connection phase right. You understand? And with my students, I spend a lot of time when I review their calls and I do all these things, nailing the connection piece. Once you connect with a seller, I can't stress this enough, it literally makes everything else easier. When people say, John, there's so much competition in my market. Your competition isn't doing this. Your competition is not connecting the way they should be. So when we connect, we have no competition because they're going to be like, look, I've had other people call me, but honestly, nobody's like been as nice as you or given me as much information as you or been as helpful as you are. You understand? That's because of the connection piece. And that's not because I'm giving them any piece of information because we don't. You understand? It's just because they're like, man, I feel like I could just connect with you and trust you and, we can get something going. So I don't have competition. You understand? Like nobody really does these things unless you're a part of my mastermind. And on that note, if you ever want to schedule a free strategy call to see if it's a good fit, just go to pwmcall.com and you and I will hop on a call and make sure it makes sense. Now, once you connected, and I put 5 to 10 minutes, the reason I actually put this is because I had a student that spoke to somebody for over 45 minutes and it was all on connection. And I was like, he's like, what do you think? I'm like, I guess you got a new best friend. Like, that's excellent, but we're not. What are you doing here? What was the whole point of the call? And they're like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I guess I got to call him back. I'm like, okay, well, that defeats the whole purpose of the call. So the next phase is motivation. In motivation, what we're looking for is pain or pleasure. Is there pain they're trying to avoid or is there pleasure they're trying to seek? Which one is it? I would say probably 85% of the time, it's going to be avoiding pain. right? Especially with foreclosures. It's going to be avoiding the pain of the credit being destroyed, losing the equity, being kicked out out on the street, not having enough time. All of these pain points are going to be a big factor as to what their motivators are going to be. Now, what pleasure looks like is we do foreclosures when somebody's deceased. So we're speaking to the heirs. So in the heirs, a lot of times we target pleasure. And what's the pleasure of an heir is getting money they weren't counting on, getting money that they didn't know even existed. You understand? So we can hit on the pleasure points of like, look how much money you're going to get. What are you going to do with it? You know, what's the experience going to be? So we go deep on the motivators, right? Is it pain? Is it pleasure? Whichever one it is, it's always one or the other. It's never both. Whichever one it is, we make it bigger, right? So if it's, you know, oh yeah, I don't want to lose my house because it's going to destroy my credit. And you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't to me, right? And not that I'm stupid, but it's like you need to make this emotional. So it's like, yeah, I can see that. And what would happen if it destroyed your credit? Well, I wouldn't be able to, you know, get a car or get another house or this or that. And why is that an issue, I guess? Well, if I can't get a car, then I won't be able to do this. So they keep going deeper and deeper, right? And the reason this helps is because when you're ready to submit an offer, those are the solutions you're presenting. You understand? Like that is how you submit an offer. We're going to cover offers next. But that's how you submit an offer. Is based heavily on the pain points. So if you don't dig deep enough on the pain points, and believe it or not, for those of you guys doing foreclosures or anything like that, it's not enough that they're in foreclosure. That's not strong enough of a pain point. Even if you're doing absentees and they're like, you know, I have some students that are like, oh, they're a burned out landlord. Burned out from what? The tenants. What are the tenants doing? Well, they're just causing problems. What problems? Why are they problems? Why hasn't the landlord been able to resolve that? Because when I can dig deeper and deeper and deeper, it becomes like such an open wound for them that they'll do anything to take care of it. You understand? And this is where we increase the margins. Because if you are always presenting offers based on numbers, and this, a lot of you guys get into this trap of like, just submit offers, submit offers, submit offers. No, I only submit offers that are going to get accepted. If they're not going to be accepted, why am I submitting an offer? It makes no sense. You understand? Like just to have offers sitting there so they can take my offer and start shopping it around against other offers. If they start shopping it around, do you believe there's somebody out there that can even offer $500 more than me? 100%. Why would I do that? It makes no sense. But you guys all do that. So stop doing this. Dig deep into the motivation. And lastly, we either set an appointment, which is my preference, right? Set an appointment. If you've gotten good enough at this that you close appointments very well and you're really good at it, then you can contract over the phone. Not everybody's good at this. This is why most people suck at virtual wholesaling, is because you just don't know how to close. You know, you don't know how to build rapport. You don't know how to connect. You don't know how to dig deep. So when it's time to submit an offer, you're running numbers, which is beyond insane, right? Like, oh, it's 70%, minus repairs. Okay, that hasn't worked in like 10 years. But that's the nonsense you guys are doing. And when you go to the appointment or you submit the contract, what you're doing is you're outcome focused. This is not number focused. You understand? This is not, you know, like, oh, I'm giving you 140 grand. That means nothing to people. It's the outcome you're selling. What is the outcome that's going to come from your offer? What this looks like is, again, the credit, the, you know, getting kicked out on the street and all these things. It's like, look, got great news for you. We're going to be able to not just stop the foreclosure, which is going to prevent them from kicking you out on the street just like that, and save your credit. You know, this way you can also rebuild, but we're also going to be able to put X amount of money in your pocket. Now, the X amount of money is not the offer. That's their walk away money. Why this matters is maybe at 140 grand, they're walking away with 30 grand, but they don't know that. Because most sellers don't understand how to run numbers. So most sellers, when they look at, you know, the 140 grand, they're probably thinking, oh, I got to pay off the mortgage and this and the fees and blah, blah. Like, what am I going to walk away with? 5 grand? It makes no sense to them. But when you're able to tell them exactly what the outcome is of doing the deal with you, hey, we're going to save your credit. We're going to save the equity. We're going to give you time to move. And we're going to put $30,000 in your pocket. Now they know clearly what their outcome is. Now they can see without a doubt how they're going to be able to walk away from this and what they can expect. When you leave anything too vague, and too vague goes into what I was just talking about, like 140 grand, they don't know what that means. They just don't. You understand? Like, oh, trust me, that's going to solve all your problems. Okay, right? You have to articulate every single step. And this is why it's important for phase number 2, for the connection and then the motivator, because when you connect and you dig deep into all the pain, when you submit, you're able to target every big pain point they've had. And you're able to show them how your offer is going to solve all those pain points. So what happens if they're like, oh man, you know what? I was really hoping to get more. Mike, I guess I'm a little confused. What do you mean more? Because we talked about, like, you wanted, A, B, and C, and that's exactly what I'm able to give you. I mean, I wish I could give you more, but I wouldn't be able to help you if that was the case. Like, for me to take care of all these things and still put the money that you want in your pocket, like, it's going to be this. I guess I'm confused. Do you not want to solve those problems anymore? No, yeah, I do. Okay. So what am I missing here? No, you're right. All right. Okay, let's move forward. Let's get it done. It's honestly, guys, when I get students that tell me, oh, they rejected my offer and blah, 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 or as soon as I submitted the offer, they ghosted me. I promise you, this wasn't the problem. This was the problem. You didn't connect. This was the problem. You didn't find enough motivation, enough pain point. You didn't understand. And if you don't understand what the motivation is because you didn't connect well and they didn't open up to you, then you can't solve their outcome. You can't solve their problems accurately because you're going to give them an offer and they're still not going to see where the value comes in. They're still not going to see why the hell they should go with you. It doesn't make sense to them. All right. So this is phase 1. This is what we focus on first, is the call. This is how we qualify our leads. Now, when you get good at it, right, and you have like kind of like the stuff that I teach on how to build the list and everything, a lot of times the leads are already qualified when we call them because we pulled the right list. So I know my list is motivated. I still go through these phases to help them understand that they're motivated and why they need to work with me. So once I go through this connection and we bring up the pain points and I can sell it more on an outcome base, I can close more deals. And when I close more deals, my margins are higher. When my margins are higher, I make a lot more money. So with that being said, guys, this is the bulk of the training. This is how we handle calls. Now, I see, Simon, you asked the question about the scripts. Again, we don't use scripts. We use a framework. Now, within the mastermind, like I help you build out your own custom script because the script needs to be custom to the list and the market you're in. They're not generic scripts. They're not like, I see these people, they're like, get my 7-figure script, right? And it's the same nonsense everywhere. It just doesn't work. It worked for him and his market and wherever they were, but it doesn't work across the nation. It doesn't work in all types of lists. It doesn't work for every type of motivated seller. So you got to get good enough at crafting your own script, which is why I teach a framework, right? And with that framework, you nail your opener. You figure out what connection questions you got to ask. You figure out your motivating questions, how to dig deeper, and then you set your appointment or get the deal. When you do this and you do this effectively, the conversions are tremendous. The deals are going to be very profitable. Your business becomes easier because now all it is for me and my students is that, all you got to do is get somebody on the phone. As soon as somebody says hello, because you pulled the list, the correct list, as soon as they say hello, you got to close. That's the only thought we have. because I know you're already qualified. I know you're ready to go because I know what the situation is. All I got to do is follow this framework just to articulate these things to you so you know that I know what you're going through and you can trust me and you can like me and you know who I am. And then I can submit an offer that's going to help you, and it converts every single time. So I hope this helps, Simon. I hope I answered your question there. Again, we don't use scripts. We use this framework. And if you ever have any questions, Simon, specifically on a script, on whatever it is you want, then yes, in the Facebook group or even on this video on YouTube, wherever, you can ask, hey, I'm targeting this list. This is what I'm doing. What should be a good opener or some good connect, whatever it is, just let me know. And I will help you, build that out. But doesn't look like there are any more questions coming in. So with that being said, guys, that's the training. Next week, I'm going to go over phase 2. And phase 2 is going to be, you're going to see how you convert even higher than with this. It stacks on this, so it's going to be a powerful training. So I will see you all next Monday.